we care about these people. We have, you've spent so much time training and evolving and growing them, and they become your family, and you spend more time with them than you do with your own family, in this business we're in, and you just so much love. It was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever been through when we did all those stand downs.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Hotels. They're a vital cog in our society for tourism, for business, for leisure. But the lockdown effectively closed them all down overnight. Hotels don't just provide a place to rest our head. They are huge food and beverage operations that employ tens of thousands of hospitality workers. What's happened to these venues? What's happened to their dining rooms? And what's happened to their staff? Vincent Lombino is the Group Director of Food and Beverage for Ovolo Hotels across Australia. Vincent, how are you going?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us today. There's lots to talk about, but could you give us an idea to start with on the scale of the Ovolo Hotel Group and how many they employ and the impact that the pandemic had initially in those early stages?
Oh, yeah, still. Well, we've got, so obviously we've got 11 hotels in between Australia and Hong Kong, and we're actually building in Indonesia as we speak. And then we've got 2 new hotels in Melbourne. One that'll be finished in November. We've got about 15 F&B businesses within that, restaurants, and bars, and of course all the ancillary functions, conferencing, catering, room service, and in-room. But yeah, it was a brutal time when we got into that third week in March, and across both, from through Hong Kong and through Australia, having to do our stand downs, and we laid off hundreds and hundreds of a team. We fought hard to keep our management teams on board. We ended up closing a few of the hotels, but tried to remain most of them open, even just on light crews. And we just had to be very creative. The hotel occupancy was very, very low, as everyone was in ISO and not traveling. But we kept the dream alive through some actions, through takeaway, setting up new brands and some takeaway brands, and some fun, kind of really engaging opportunities to help get people to have a little bit of dining, a little bit of fun along the way, and keep our management working. But probably the hardest thing I've had to do. I mean, I was in the States and I grew up in America and went through 2008. When the GFC hit, 2007, really into 7 before I came to Australia, right when I got here in 08, but having to do that same thing where you're seeing your dear friends, you having to stand them down, send them away, let them go off and deal with the world. You're just never prepared for it, to see the people that you care about and watch it happen all over the country.
Well, you had that period in 2007, 2008 of the GFC and felt the impact of that, and obviously the pandemic is different to that. But what did it feel like for you personally in that early stage? Did you have concerns for your sector and all the people employed in it, moving forward?
Oh, 100%. We knew, you knew, right? You saw it coming, and right when it has hit, this was going to be not going to go away very quickly. We're going to have a long road ahead, and to try to figure out how to survive and be a company to be there for those people when it is time to come back, and the moves that we had to make, and everyone that sacrificed their salaries and their wages, the ones that stayed on and we've all been working full time and very limited. And taking on, but just being there every step. I mean, I went through every property, got to speak to almost all of our staff, each and every one of them as we did the stand downs, the reasons, the why, the how we were going to hold it on, how we continue to pay them through until JobKeeper came on, and just we care about these people. We have, you've spent so much time training and evolving and growing them, and they become your family, and you spend more time with them than you do with your own family, in this business we're in, and you just so much love. It was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever been through in this, when we did all those stand downs.
People often just think of restaurants and cafes when they think of the food sector, but hotels are huge in regards to food and beverage offerings right across the globe. How many meals or how many people do you get through your operations? Over a year.
Oh wow, that's a good question. If we were to take it through, I'd have to probably run run some mad calculations. But look, it's funny because I came from a group called Noble House in the States, and we had about 12 hotels, and it was all about the owner. It was just freestanding restaurants that happened to be located inside a hotel. They weren't hotel restaurants per se, and you do your 200 and 250 a night. You have good average spends, good bars, great celebrity, well known chefs and fun concepts. And that was where I got kind of recruited to come to Australia, was to open and start the QT brand and run the F&B and QT and do these big freestanding restaurants that happen to be located inside hotels, but they weren't traditional hotel restaurants. And did that for years. And we would literally we'd get into the double digit millions in annual sales, across multiple hotels. With Ovolo, I mean, each individual restaurant concept's different. I mean, we'd have big restaurant in Canberra that would end up doing, let's say, 30,000, 30,000, 40,000 dinners a month, and a year, and you still do your full breakfast, you do your lunch, your room service, in-room dining, but big, heavy revenues. If you're doing it well, right? If you're doing the right team, right staff, right leadership, music, vibe, energy, soul. If you get it right and you do it well, then you can attract. And I think the future is going to be good for hotel restaurants coming out of this. I think people are going to be looking for safety, security, strong brand recognition, cleanliness, and a lot of hospitality and gratitude.
What's some of the initiatives that you put in place to keep your staff and to move forward with the various restaurant models that you have to get through this pandemic?
Yeah, look, we had to when we had to shut it all down completely. Then we shut everything down right away, and we ended up moving to we kept the in room and went for the hotel guest. We quickly opened a few new concepts off the back of current concepts to do takeaway and delivery, and some good home box and marketplace and delis, and did some things to try to keep feeding the locals and the people that lived in and around the area and people that were staying with us. We recently launched a concept called Restaurant and Room, which was really fun for when there were no restaurants open, but you just needed to get out of your house and get somewhere but feel safe, where we converted hotel rooms into little private dining rooms with your
Wow.
restaurant, your tables, your chairs, your service staff, and then you'd get served 5 and 7 course dinner. Have dinner, have your wine, have your drinks, a little cocktail trolley that rolled up and made drinks for you, and then you just left, and you went home. You didn't have to stay the night. It was just your own private dining room. So that's been a real winner.
Tell me about some of your restaurants, because they're award-winning restaurants, some of them, and you've got some pretty amazing chefs in the past, like Sean McConnell, with Monster, and you've got like associations with Ian Curley and Justin North. Can you tell us about some of the restaurants across the group?
Yeah, so we've got to look. It's funny. We've got Alibi here at I've been down at Woolloomooloo today, but Alibi is 100% plant-based. Work with Matthew Kenny to put that concept together, and that's just very successful at a restaurant. It's really taken off and done very well, and has a great following. Really killer food. So that will open back up on Friday there. We've got Monster. Just about to go through probably our next evolution of what Monster is going to be. Big size restaurant that's in the hotel in Nishi, which used to be Hotel, and that originally was Connolly was one of the brothers there doing. So they did some really cool stuff when they opened. They pushed it really hard for Canberra, and I think they caught it at the right time, and it was a good place. We're going to evolve that. That will be opening up that very soon. We just opened a very cool, soulful Middle Eastern Israeli-led restaurant up in Brisbane with Roy Nur.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's a banger. That's a killer concept, and really good food. Great little vibe in there. Good music, energy. So it's so funny, and that's where my heart goes out to everyone that puts so much into their business. Right? Everyone's put so much into their business, and if you just had it ticking right where you wanted it to be, and you had all the things dialed in perfectly, and then you felt really good about where it was going, and then this thing hits, and all that work and all those hours and weeks and months and years into the making, just you just feel like whoosh, and it goes right back down to zero. But we'll get back on that. We've got a couple cool little cocktail bars. what else we're doing? We're opening a vegetarian restaurant, full vegetarian, down in South Yarra. That'll be with Ian Curley. He oversees Monster in Canberra, and we're in Brisbane. And then he'll heading up the culinary for and finding us a good exec chef and working with the team there for a new restaurant that's going to open probably in November. We've got another one that'll be coming on in Bali, so that'll be up in October. So yeah, it's been fun. Look, it's growing. It's a young company. They just kind of really started getting into the F&B game over the last couple of years, and taking it seriously. But we've had some great opportunities to work with some really great operators that kind of come in and help us on that culinary side. We don't really have a group chef. These guys just come in and do the real deal, and it's just a pleasure to work with them.
You talked earlier about this amazing idea that you had of using hotel rooms as private dining rooms where, a couple can have, almost an exclusive sort of experience. Are you going to continue that, until your occupancy rates and numbers return and maybe even beyond that? Is that something that could outlast this sort of period?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're going to keep it going. I think we're already pretty much looking like we're booked up and booked out for the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Wow.
In both Sydney and Canberra, and we'll put it up and start in Brisbane probably in the next few weeks at Valley. And yeah, the calls are just coming. People are just really excited, even with restaurants reopening in the 50 packs, or it's going to be 100 when we get to Brisbane in the middle of July. But I think people still like that idea of just it's safe, it's private, you still get the restaurant experience, you get time to be alone, and it's not that much more than just a good night out, with a crowd. So it'll be a little bit different. And we're very resilient. We're very resilient. Humanity is very resilient, right? I mean, you think about all the things that have happened in the world: plagues, depressions, wars, 9/11, terrorist attacks, hurricanes, tornadoes. I mean, we do bounce back, but I think it will be a little bit different for some time until people have a lot more safety and security around what the future does hold with something like a COVID or any kind of pandemic of what we're going through now. So I think like small bars, tighter confined spaces. People used to run and bump in and knock around and be just cozied up while you're fighting for a drink at the bar. I just think those days are going to take a little bit more time. And I think bigger spaces or private spaces, or I think that's an opportunity where there is that social distancing and there's those areas where people can go, okay, I can go out, but I don't feel like I'm sitting right on top of somebody or someone's sitting on top of me. I think it's going to be a bit of that for a while. And I think that was one of the things with R&R, just gives people an opportunity to get out but still feel safe. And as we open up these restaurants now over these next coming weeks, making sure we just do everything that we can to have the space in between the tables to give people an opportunity to not overcrowd, not overbook, double seatings and just really be safe and be smart about it, but have to get back to business because it's a very tough industry to make money, as everyone knows, and everyone's fighting for their life, just trying to get through with taxes and payroll and bodies and cogs and rents and allocations and it's people. I feel for everyone in this industry trying to get back to it and do the right thing and keep it safe, but still be able to stay alive and exist.
You've got a pretty illustrious career of influence, in the US and Australia. And how did you get started in the hospitality sector?
Oh man, I started when I was a kid. I was sixth grade dropout. 12 years old. Started off, bothered somebody enough times to ask him for a dishwashing job, and then just went dishwasher, waiter, manager, and then was working at a big hotel in San Diego, and then was working for the owner of that hotel and did all this private stuff. Started taking care of the Clintons and the Kennedys, and ended up in Switzerland at the U.S. Embassy and doing all the parties and events, which took me to Florida, and from Florida groups, and then made my way up to VP of Food and Beverage for a hotel group in the States, and then got headhunted to come to Oz right in '08. It was the strangest thing. It was just right in the middle of what we were going through, where taking fine dining restaurants and turning them into burger joints and steakhouses into fish and chip shops and whatever you needed to do to just stay alive. To make things casual and inexpensive, and the occupancies were all, it was a high-end luxury hotel brand, and the occupancy went to zero at that time, and I
Wow.
was thinking, how, and I was laying off friends. I'm thinking, how am I going to, what's the next 5 years? We were looking at the price of the spec price of bacon, and how are we going to change this and change that. And the busboy was going to do turn down in the room, and the housekeepers were going to serve, food in the restaurant. And then all of a sudden this opportunity come to start this QT brand and work with this visionary David Sargent and say, let's go. I've got an open checkbook. I've got ideas of where I'm going to put all these hotels, and do you want to come do all these cool restaurants? And we had just a phenomenal 6 years and worked with some great people, brought some killer people over from the States that I just love. Some of my closest people, and brought my teams, and the head of music, head of bars, head of food, head chefs, and we just ingrained into Australian culture, and did some fun things, and just been here ever since, and never so home now, and all my friends are here, and my life's here. My daughter was born in Australia, and it's home for good now.
Well, you're originally from California, and have you had any conversations with people back home about the impact of the pandemic over there?
Man, all the time. It has hit everyone equally all around, the world, as far as, and from financially, operationally, psychologically, socially. I think everyone has gone through, just most people were probably in the same boat, that they just didn't have. You didn't have all your money tied up. You didn't put it all under your mattress and ready for a rainy day. And so a lot of people were kind of just living to live, and this is kind of a rude awakening to go, shit, I wasn't really super prepared for something like this, but I think the funny is that the levity, the comedy, the good relationships, the friendships, I think I'm communicating more with these people that I've lost touch with over the years, because we're always so busy and everyone's got work and roles and jobs, and now you're sending funny videos and memes and pictures and things around, and you get on the phone and you just have a good laugh and say, hey, we're all trying to figure this out together. So, but it's been awful what's happening.
What has that reconnection meant for you?
It's been incredible. It's funny because so I've never been a big social person, and I never had Facebook until like recently, which is funny. I'd get on it at 50, but I did it because we put all of our staff on it. We were communicating. I was sending out, really cool things, to the team, just keep everybody up and inspired and fun, some quotes and sayings and videos and some notes and stuff, just to let everybody know what we're working on. But through that, it turned out that I've just caught up with all these people that have, tracked me down and found me through the years that I've lost touch with, and it's been great to reconnect and hear what they're up to and what they're doing. So I see why people do it, and that's been really good. And a lot of people are just they're staying strong, and I think everyone, if you staying positive about where we're going to get to, and we will return. And it's just what does it look like when we return, and how do we get back to where we want to get to as a society? But I think the universe told everybody they needed to take a moment and just have a rethink about it.
How are you feeling at the moment about what's going on in the US with sort of the peaceful protests and the riots and the Trump administration?
Man,
how's that feel?
Oh, I don't know if we have that kind of time on this podcast, my man. No, but I honestly, it's sad. Look, I lived from LA, and I was in '92 with the Rodney King, when that was very kind of confined, to California and around. This is gone. This is across the whole nation, because it's grown and it's grown and it's grown. It's gotten worse and it's gotten worse and it's gotten worse. And how Trump's handling it, and how the government. There needs to be change, and I think, but it shouldn't get to the point where, like, you shouldn't be tipping cars and lighting shit on fire and stealing a TV from Kmart. That doesn't really get the point across,
Yeah.
But there needs to be some massive change, and I feel that they have to listen, at some point. It's the freedoms that these police have to do the things that they have gotten away with, which is just absolutely brutal. As Terrence McKenna said, if you come across a protest, just join in, because they probably know more about it. They know more about the subject matter than you do, but it shouldn't get to a point where people are getting hurt, and dying,
How's it felt being in Australia with the pandemic on? We've witnessed sort of what's happening around the globe, and certainly in some sense Australia's been sort of safe from a lot of that. How have you felt being here?
Like we're on the Truman Show. No, it's really it's a safe place to be, right? I mean, I think originally when I just had a baby, we just got to Australia, and I knew I wanted to raise my daughter, in a really safe place in Australia. It's just a beautiful look. It's a beautiful country. It's protected. It's isolated in the sense that you can control. You have a much better opportunity to control. People can can help control less population, smarter about going about it, not being. I think we just handled things quite well as a country. I mean, I think both New Zealand and Australia really stepped up and did what they said they were going to do and lived by what we needed to do, and even against some of our better judgment probably at the beginning. And I think, but now we're coming on the other side of it, whereas a lot of the rest of the world, they're still suffering and struggling, and it's going to be very hard for them to slow it down and get to that point where we are. So I mean, it's one thing about this country is it's a really great place. I mean, crime is very low. It's just yeah. It's just I think it's great to be here.
Well, as you briefly touched on, travel restrictions are easing in Australia, and how are you feeling about welcoming people back, and what's the plan with the Ovolo Group?
Yeah, look, we have put so many steps and measures into place for safety and security of our guests, of our staff. We're doing everything to the extreme to be to do the right thing, and we're looking forward to having people back. I mean, the domestic is really starting to climb already, so we're going to have some big occupancies over this coming week across both Sydney and Canberra, and then as Brisbane starts to open up, we'll open up by the end of the month internally with Queensland, and then hopefully they'll get that border down before New Zealand. Well, I need New Zealand to open up because I need to get over there as soon as possible. But we're looking forward to having people back. We're looking forward to as long as everyone's traveling the right way and doing the right thing and staying safe. We'd love to see things, the lights back on, the music back on, the smiling faces that we have. We've got some really beautiful, shiny, happy people that work for us, and I think they're all excited to get back into it and take care of guests, right? I mean, we love this. We're all in this business to take care of people and spoil people and give them a really great experience and just show our hospitality and care. And I think we're really having a lot of training coming up over the next few weeks, just to have gratitude, just be really thankful for the people that are coming to stay with us. They have a million choices now, right? Everyone's going to be fighting for the same business, and rates are going to be rate wars, and there's going to be lots of occupancy, a lot of availability, right? A lot of rooms. That around the country, because we still won't have the international for a while, so we just have to do it really well.
What do you love about your sector, and is there an experience you've had in your career that you've never thought you'd ever have?
Wow, man, I've been so, and I feel like it's the wildest. It's been such a crazy ride. Like for a kid from a trailer park in Nowheresville, I've traveled the world. I've lived all over the world, Australia, New Zealand. I've run big restaurant groups, big hotel groups. I got to spend 3 years at the U.S. Embassy in Switzerland with a diplomatic passport, taking care of presidents and politicians from all over the world, and I've got to meet some of the most phenomenal actors, musicians, artists, just incredible human beings on the journey. It's been a phenomenal journey, and it's all been from just taking care of people and loving restaurant business and loving hospitality and service and taking care and growing and just evolving and learning everything about food and wine and everything I could about the industry and just developing people along the way to watch them turn into their own big group F&B directors and group chefs and own their own restaurants and travel all over. And I feel like I feel really proud to have taken some people on a journey that led them to their biggest success, and I've worked with some great entrepreneurs and great restaurateurs and great hoteliers and some of the best culinarians, and I've eaten and drank my way around the world. It's been pretty special. It's been really special.
It sounds pretty good.
Did a lot of bad stuff, did all the bad stuff, did all the good stuff, did everything you could possibly do in this business,
What's made you proud of the way your team has adapted and reacted during this time?
I think just the cohesiveness, the communication, the care factor, the selflessness to be in it and stay working, show up every morning, still come to work as much as we can, hold down the fort, be with the teams we could be with, take with our remuneration changes, but still the hours and the days and the weeks and the months and the dedication to still come to see them show up and still work just as hard, if not harder. I mean, there was a lot of us. There's a lot that there was no hey downtime. It was uptime. It was from stand downs to restructure to rebuild to what do we do to how do we pivot to now it's reopen, restart, rehire, retrain, rebuild, and and remarket and re-energize the hotels. So everyone's just been full blast on through it, and I've just been really and the ones that we had to stand down. They were graceful and understanding and beautiful, and they stay in contact. And we've had some really great days where we've invited some of the teams down and just had a little feed and just let them know that as soon as we can get open, we're going to have them all back. And so we're just pushing really hard. So I just think the community and the togetherness we've stuck together through it all, which it's been beautiful.
When you get new staff members, what do you say to them about the keys to good hospitality for your sector?
I think you have to start from all my years. What I think you have to start with someone with a great soul, and someone with a great heart, and someone with a great passion and joie de vivre and a zest for life. And I think if you hire that right person and that right energy, then just teaching them the fine art of smiling and how to carry and how to do this and this the 6 foot rule and 2 foot this, and this is when we greet and this is how we think, and serve on the right, clear on the right, drinks on the right hand side, and this is when we do this, and this is when you step in and this when you step out. I think all those things just come really easily with the right person. I think when you're trying to put that round peg in a square hole, no matter how great you are as a trainer, how great you are as an inspirational speaker, it doesn't fly if someone doesn't innately want to give great hospitality. So I think hire slow, fire fast, put the right people in place, and just find people that love the business.
I like that line. That's great. What have you missed most during this pandemic?
Well, probably two things. Probably not drinking outside of my home, because that makes me start to feel really bad about myself, and not being able to train properly. I have this I got this prison workout system going on in the backyard with some dumbbells and some pavers from Bunnings and some bags of sand and shit. My partner, she's looking at me, she's like, yeah, like prison workout. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing whatever, just like I'm in the yard, but I miss training. No, I miss the camaraderie I miss being in the kitchen, right? I miss being with the teams. I miss pre-meals. I miss seeing all the faces. I miss traveling. I've been a traveler, so I'm usually on the road 4 or 5 days a week, and I miss popping in and going straight to the hotel, get to the restaurant, go see the team, spend the night on the floor, be with the crew. I just miss that. I miss that camaraderie, I think, with everybody. I miss the guests, too. I miss talking to the people that come through and the smiling faces when you do something well, and feed them a great meal and serve them a proper drink and remember their name and all that stuff. Just miss all of it.
Do you think you'll do things a little differently moving forward? Has there been positives to come out of this experience for you?
Yeah, I think for everybody, there's been some positives. I mean, I think a lot of businesses get, unfortunately, they get a little bit top heavy. They get a little bit fat, in some of the personnel and some of the things and the disciplines. And I think having to cull things down to zero and then rebuilding it from zero, I think you'll look at how you do things. You'll look at technology differently. I think you'll try to find ways to get more output with less, bodies to input. Just because you need to, we need to be able to do sharper menus, sharper technology, better reporting systems, ease for people to order, digitally, prepay, postpay, just have it, make it streamlined. I think the customer journey needs to be very flawless. I think our staff journey needs to be a lot less clunky and sharp. And I think people have to understand that they're going to need to learn to do more within the role. And I think people will be happy to do more within a role because they have a role and they're part of a team, and so I think there'll be a lot of good things that will come out of this. I think we'll just work a little bit sharper, faster, better, and probably with a little more gratitude. All of us will probably feel a little bit more gratitude to what we're doing versus sometimes feeling like you're in the grind, every day,
Well, as people start traveling and the hotels start filling up and the restaurants fill up again as well, how are you going to feel when the hotel's sort of at full occupancy and the restaurants are pumping along?
That'll be a great day. I think we've got a ways to go with that. I think it's going to be. I think to see full hotel occupancy, I think around Australia for any hotel group or independent, it's probably going to be a good 12 months, or I think before we get back to those those 80s and 90% that everybody was feeling. I think running it'll probably be at that half capacity for a while, and I think this is when good general managers and good operators have to really. I think there's a lot of young managers that had the opportunity to just be a manager. They get to be a hotel manager, GM in a really great market where it's you're just punching 90% occupancy, these high rates, and you're just creaming it. Now you got to be really smart to deliver that same service, that high energy, that good front desk experience, good clean, still keep the rooms tidy and live to all your standards with less people and not driving those huge profits right off the bat. But I think the great ones will do phenomenal, and the ones that are just still running at it kind of mediocre they'll struggle even more than they did before. So you just got to do it well.
Well, mate, I'm really looking forward to see what happens as we move forward, particularly with the private dining in hotel rooms. I think that's a genius idea that the group's delivered.
Why don't you come give it a shot, Huck? Let's have you down.
Well, I need to get a babysitter first for that to happen. I'm willing to take on twins, but it might be the best night of our lives. We might have to do that.
That's it.
Mate, Vincent, it's been bloody great chatting, and keep in touch, and love to hear what happens as we move forward, and thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much. And it's an honor to be here. Like, honestly, to have me on you've had the most incredible guests on your podcast, on your show. I mean, like, just an incredible, I've been listening to them, and the beautiful, great hospitality gurus that you've had on, and they just it's one of those, like a dinner party you'd want to put together, and have a big blowout night with all those, great mix of people. So been honored to be on here with you. So thank you.
We might have to plan a dinner party at the sometime soon with everyone. That sounds like a great idea.
Let's do it. How good would that be? That would be really cool to have all those people in one spot. I think that would be really cool.
Mate, you've planted a great seed there. Vincent, mate, thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you for everything.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we share the stories of Australia's hospo community, suppliers and producers in search of hope during this pandemic. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.